Suprabhatam friends, welcome to my channel Plants and Me. This is Dr. Sridevi from Mangaluru, Karnataka, India. Today we will be discussing about potting mix for plants which do not require mud. Yes, some plants do not require mud. This is because they grow on other plants like big trees, and they derive the food material from the bark of that tree. Sometimes the plant grows on walls also. So such plants, they do not require mud. So their potting mix will be totally different. So the plants which grow on tree trunks, they are called as epiphytes, and they hold on to the bark of that tree. They'll put adventitious roots into the bark, and then they derive food material from the bark, moisture, etc. It's all from the bark of the tree. So the tree serves as a source for nutrition. So we will see what are those potting medium required for such plants. For such plants, we need to mimic the natural or source or the natural habitat where it might be growing, like tree trunk. So we need to mimic those conditions in its potting medium. So when you are planting the plant in that pot, it should think that okay, it is growing on the tree trunk. So such a potting medium is required. So now we will see a few potting medium which are used apart from mud. So these are the potting mix other than soil or mud. So this is coconut chips. These are large chunk of coconut covering the husk which is available, the coconut which is dehusked, that is broken down and they are made into these small chunks. They are called as coconut chips. This we are all familiar, especially the people at the coastal region. Coconut husk. This can be used as it is. Then this is pumic powder. This looks like perlite. Perlite is lighter and it starts flying off with a slight wind also. So perlite looks exactly like this, but this is pumic powder. This the particles are about from 2 mm to 4 mm size. I have taken this with a reason. This is for using as potting mix, a component of potting mix for Hoyas. Then these are leca. These are clay balls which have been compressed. So these are leca balls, and this is pine bark. So this is the bark of the pine tree. So these are some, and yes, this is the cocoa peat. This is the powder. So basically this, and this is the cocoa peat, coconut husk and coconut chips. All are from the same source, that is coconut husk, coconut as it is. So if this husk is made into powder, this is wet, so it will look like this. This is the coconut husk. We can break it, and always we should use old processed coconut chips or coconut husk or cocoa peat, because they are acidic in nature, so that acid is not good for the plants. So if this is broken down, you get these chips. Now all these are used as potting medium. You can use a combination of this, or we can use only coconut chips, only coconut peat. Some people use only perlite or pumic powder for plant, and this is mainly used for rooting cutting. Any cutting, plant cutting can be rooted, even this. So this potting mix is mainly used for plants which are epiphytes. Now examples for epiphytes: Hoyas, orchids, like these plants grow on the tree trunk. So they mimic the conditions of tree bark. So that is why this potting mix or these coconut chips will form a very good potting media for Hoyas, orchids, and to some extent to some ferns also. Not all ferns, some ferns. Ferns which grow on tree bark, for them this can be used, even this pine bark, etc. So for my Hoyas, I use a combination of all this. I avoid coconut peat or powder, because as you can see, this is a very fine powder. So this will start decomposing very fast and it will start rotting, and it starts holding lots of water when compared to this. This also will decompose, but this will take little extra time, lot of time than compared to this. So this will start rotting, and once it starts rotting, it will hold lots of moisture, and once it starts holding lots of moisture, the root will be put into stagnant water, and it will catch fungus and then root rot. So this is my usual, not this I don't use in my Hoya potting: coconut peat, cocoa chips, pine bark, pumice powder, leca. I use these as a potting mix for my epiphytes. So I will show you some of my epiphytes. So these are my Hoyas. All these are in epiphytic potting mix. As you can see here, coconut chips are there, and below this plant, below the root of this plant, I have kept leca. I would be uploading that video. There is in one of my videos I will be showing how I would be repotting my Hoyas. So this Hoya potting mix I have not yet changed. Lots of cocoa peat is there, and as I told you, it holds a lot of moisture. So I need to change this potting mix. This again is coconut chunks. Here also you find coconut chunks and the pumice powder. So all my Hoyas, they have this epiphytic potting medium. Other plants which require this epiphytic potting medium are philodendrons. Philodendrons are also epiphytes. So this is one of my philodendron. You can see the chunky potting medium. I have added coconut chips and pumice powder. Similarly, here also you can find coconut chips as the potting medium. This is my Paphiopedilum orchid. It has been put in cocoa husk, but below there is coconut peat. Similarly, this orchid, this is also a ground orchid. It has got cocoa chip, coconut husk, cocoa peat. So also this one. All my orchids are in same potting mix. Here I have made a little change. I have added pebbles, because this plant requires a very well draining. Though coconut chips are there, I have added these pebbles for just for drainage sake. So this is my orchid. I can't remember the name. This is my Mocara orchid. Here also I have used cocoa husk, and below near the root I have put some pebbles. So this is one of my Anthurium magnificum hybrid. It has put out a beautiful new leaf. Just open still. So if you observe, I have used Leica coconut chips, and inside there is pumic powder also. I am not able to show here. See the roots of Anthurium. Anthuriums, they put out roots like this outside, and I have used sphagnum moss here outside. Inside also I have put a little bit of sphagnum moss. Outside I have wrapped the sphagnum moss around the plant. So what happens, whenever I water the plant, it will retain moisture and it will give humidity to the Anthurium. Anthuriums love humidity. So this sphagnum moss, this is the sphagnum moss, dry sphagnum moss. There is a wet one also. So this is how the sphagnum moss looks. So this will give moisture. It retains a lot of moisture. So we have to be very careful while choosing this. We can choose this sphagnum moss for plants which require excessive moisture, which love moisture. For those plants we can use this. So I have wrapped this on inside. Very little bit sphagnum moss is there, but outside I have wrapped this plant around with sphagnum moss so that it retains moisture, and that moisture, when it is evaporating, it will give humidity to this plant. So this is about Anthuriums. These also require the epiphytic type of potting medium. So sphagnum moss is also a potting medium. It is used mainly for potting carnivorous plants like Nepenthes and Venus flytrap and the likes. These Venus flytrap or Nepenthes, they are potted in sphagnum moss because these carnivorous plants, they grow on mosses in the natural habitat under the trees. So they require lots of moisture. So that is why sphagnum moss is used as a medium for potting carnivorous plants. So this is the sphagnum moss. It is a dry one. There is also a wet variety. So that was about potting mix in which there was medium used other than. So thanks for joining. Take care. Bye.